Hello, everybody. Peter Greenberg here, and wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a happy Thanksgiving holiday. I am not in the U.S. for Thanksgiving, and in fact, for the last 20 years, I make it a point of getting out of the country for Thanksgiving. I remember that movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That movie was designed for people who want to be masochists over Thanksgiving. I'm one of those people who believes that Thanksgiving is really an obligatory dysfunctional family get-together. So why do that to yourself? Me, I get out of town. So where am I today? Wishing you a happy Thanksgiving. I'm in Paris, and I'm in an amazing hotel called the Hotel de Berry on Rue de Berry, which I love that street because it's right off the Champs-Élysées, and you get to walk to anything you want, including some of my most favorite restaurants in the entire planet. And so my Thanksgiving tradition does not involve turkey, and it does not involve the United States. And I wish everybody good luck. And speaking of those numbers in the United States, I need to put those in perspective for you because they're changing as we speak in terms of who's traveling over Thanksgiving and how are they traveling. If you believe the AAA figures from last week, I'm sorry to say they're wrong because during the pandemic, not the pandemic, the government shutdown, how silly of me. During the government shutdown, a lot of Americans said, you know what? With all the problems with flights and caps on the number of flights, I'm not going to put myself through that. I'm just going to either postpone or cancel my airplane ticket. And if I'm going anywhere under 300 miles, I'm going to drive. So the actual numbers, even though the FAA right now is predicting the most number of flights in the air over Thanksgiving, the actual number of people going to be on those flights is down over 4.5%. Where are they? In their cars. And so here's the problem. It's going to be very crowded on the roads. And of course, today, I'm basically doing this on Wednesday, the 26th. That's supposed to be the worst travel day of the year, every year, right? That was planes, trains, and automobiles. Well, it's not. This year, the day that's the worst travel day of the year is coming up. It's this coming Sunday, November 30th. That's the one day when everybody had the less than original idea, let's all go home on the same day. And if you're in your car, based on the numbers we're seeing now, you might want to bring a copy of War and Peace. You'll be able to finish the entire book. Do yourself a favor. If you're going to come back, leave at midnight or leave on Tuesday or Wednesday. Don't travel Sunday or Monday. Not a good idea. And on Friday, of course, the old days you'd be trapped at the mall for Black Friday sales. Now you can do so much of that online. And there's some great Black Friday sales out there. Colette Tour is the largest privately owned tour company in America. They have great discounts on all their tours into 2026. Celebrity Cruises up to 35% off on a lot of their cruises. You have to activate that soon. Even one airline, Air Tahiti Nui, which operates from the West Coast, they don't just go to Tahiti, they also fly from Los Angeles to Paris. They're doing like 25% off if you activate it before December 3rd, and that's for the next couple of months after that. Now, I mentioned where I am at the Hotel de Berry. This is an amazing hotel that most people don't know about. It's almost an art and a boutique hotel. In the lobby, they've got unbelievable pieces that are from the Louvre. No, they weren't stolen. They're actually replicas, but they work very closely with art students. And it's an amazing display in the lobby. But what's really special about this hotel is there are only about 75 rooms and suites, but every one of their suites was designed by a well-known designer or inspired by one. Look at this one. This is the Coco Chanel suite, inspired by Coco Chanel. Absolutely gorgeous. Then, if you go down to the restaurant, everything here is art. Look at this picture. That's not a painted wall in the restaurant. That's stretched canvas and an amazing art piece. And then something you don't find at most Parisian hotels. In the back of the hotel, they've got an amazing garden. Great place to spend Thanksgiving. No turkey, no lines, no crowds, and great food. Can't beat it. No gravy, no stuffing, but everything else. Highly recommended. Now, moving along from that, I want to get serious for a minute because a couple of days ago, Transportation Secretary Duffy did a public service announcement. I'm sure it was well-intentioned, but I got problems with it. What was the public service announcement? He wants to go back to the golden age of travel. He wants people to be nicer. He wants people to dress better. He doesn't want people dressing in their pajamas or their slippers to go on a plane. On that point, I agree with him. When I was growing up, my parents wouldn't let me near an airport unless I was wearing a jacket and tie. I was probably the best dressed kid on the plane, but that's how they approached air travel. That's how I still approach air travel. I'm not there in flip flops and shorts with butt cracks. It's just not appropriate. What's worse, of course, is the offensive, the offensive clothing that's being worn in terms of offensive messages on T-shirts. I'm agreeing with the secretary on that 100%. With one caveat, that's not the problem. That doesn't bring us back to the golden age of travel. Being nice doesn't bring us back to the golden age of travel. Let's talk about what we really have going on here today. First of all, how can you be nice when the airlines have crammed so many seats into the coach section of the plane you can't move, where it's physically impossible, even if you only had one carry-on bag for each passenger, to be able to stow that bag? Physically impossible. They've redesigned the planes where the bathrooms are so small you can't even wash two hands in the sink at the same time. How about the boarding process? Some airlines have nine different boarding groups. If they were honest, they'd change the names of the boarding groups to people on their meds, people not on their meds, people with multiple personalities, people acting like children. You get the point. It's getting to the point where, if we're being honest about it, and the airlines want to talk about the golden age of travel, or the secretary does, he needs to address the fact, well, at least the perception, that we're being looked at by the airlines as nothing more than self-loading human cargo. It's been commoditized, right? And this and every aspect of the flight, right? The airports. Why do you want to be nice when the people who build airports and design them have never been in an airplane and have never flown? Look at LaGuardia, the brand new LaGuardia, bright, shiny, gleamy, completely congested, and the people who built it had no idea about how people travel. Look at the American Airlines terminal at LaGuardia. They put in carpeting there that resembles the Bataan Death March. If you have a rollerboard, it's impossible to do it without, being exhausted. And then people movers, what an idea. They didn't put them in. And if they put them in, they're only this long. Why? Because the airport business model is flawed. It has nothing to do with the golden age of travel. It has to do with the necessity of the golden age of retail. They don't want to anger the retailers, so they don't want you on a people mover bypassing all those opportunities to overpay. Remember the $28 beers? So very few people movers, and the ones that are there are not really functional, right? So we have airports that are badly designed. We have airplanes that are completely badly designed now because they've added more seats than they should normally be able to do. And there are safety issues involved there too. It's not about being packed in like sardines. The question is, how do you get off the plane in an emergency and still live? That gets into the FAA. I'm going to get to them in a second. After all, it's Thanksgiving. Let's give thanks in a smart and stupid way. Let's talk about other things. The golden age of airport food, please. The golden age of airline food, let's be honest, that's an oxymoron. You know it and I know it. And no amount of Biscoffs is going to take the place of a decent meal. They don't exist, right? At least in the US. But we got to go beyond that. Why would I want to be nice when the airlines are allowed to schedule unrealistically to be competitive on schedule, but they're not being competitive on reality? There's not a runway in the world, whether it's in Calcutta or Cleveland, that can accommodate more than 23 takeoffs in an hour. Why are the airlines allowed to schedule 40 departures at 8 a.m.? How is that the golden age of travel? How is that being nice, right? And if the planes can't push back from the gate, the planes that land can't get to the gate. It's gridlock. And here we go again. So why are we asking people to be nice? I'm just asking people, meaning government officials, airports, airlines, and regulators, to be smart and not let technology take the precedence over common sense. Okay, I understand about the dress code. I'll be glad to dress up. But for what? Right? It's not for the airline experience, not for the airport experience. It's not for an entire travel experience. And so now let's move on. Why? Because technology has been allowed to replace common sense in so much of what we do when it comes to travel. It's crazy. Last year, right? Now think about this. We all know about unruly passengers. The secretary mentioned it in his speech about being nice to people. He's forgetting something. It's called alcohol. Last year, the number of unruly passengers from the year 2019 to 2024 doubled, right? The amount of fines paid by unruly passengers exceeded $2.1 million. Okay, but divided by the number of unruly passengers, not a big fine. It gets worse. Why? Because I go back to alcohol. The unruly passengers are passengers in many cases who are already boarding the flights already smashed and tanked. Why is that? Let's go back to the scheduling of planes. They're delayed. Whoa, what happens when you have a delayed flight? Head to the bar. Get tanked there. Board already smashed. Then at altitude, act out violently. What a concept. Now, short of putting breathalyzers at jetways, which might actually catch a few drunk pilots, that's not the answer. There's a very simple solution here, but it goes back to the flawed model of business that airports have. And that flawed business model is they got to sell stuff in order to pay for the airport, right? What they should be doing is employing the NFL fourth quarter rules for alcohol sales at the airport. No establishment should be allowed to serve anybody any alcohol within 45 minutes of the boarding time printed on their boarding pass. Problem solved, or at least significantly mitigated. But nobody's doing that. It's unbelievable. So none of this is happening, and yet the Secretary of Transportation talks about the golden age of travel. The golden age of travel never existed anyway, except the traffic was less. So everything now gets condensed, compressed, and intensified, and they want us to be happy, and they want us to be nice. You know, the secretary in his PSA said, "Did you see the pregnant woman trying to get the bag in the overhead compartment? Would you help her?" Okay, that's reasonable. I get it. I do it all the time. One small problem. He neglected to tell you the reason why she couldn't get it into the compartment wasn't because she was pregnant. It's because there was no room in the compartment because the airlines added all those extra seats. Hello? Let's deconstruct this before we ask people to be nice. Ask them to be smart. Not us, the travel providers, the airlines, the airports, and the people who do everything from catering to baggage. Speaking of baggage, remember what I said about technology taking precedence over common sense? We know that airlines misplace bags, right? You know what I always say, there are two kinds of airline bags, carry-on and lost. When I landed at Charles de Gaulle this morning in Paris, this is what I saw. Show this picture. Can you zoom in on that? You know what it says? They put kiosks by the baggage carousel so you can conveniently report your lost bag. What message is that sending? They're going to have a lot of lost bags. So they're making it easier for you to report it. How about fixing the problem at the beginning? They've had the technology for years to fix that. But they don't spend enough money to do it. Right? It's easier for them just to hire some guy on a truck named Vern to deliver your bag 3 days later at 2 a.m. The golden age of travel, that's what they did 25 and 30 years ago. The only difference now is they're giving you a kiosk to let you know it's still happening. That's not technology. That's stupidity. Okay, so I'm on a roll here. The bottom line is I'm happy to wear a jacket on the plane. I'm happy to wear a tie. If you want, I'll even wear a beret. But don't make that equivalent about dress code with the way you treat passengers, with the way you schedule airlines, with the way you deliver bags, with the way you cater your planes, right? And I haven't even started on safety, right? You want me to be nice when the FAA treats the airlines and the manufacturers as their clients? No, I'm not nice. I'm angry. That's not the way it's supposed to be. So here we are on the eve of Thanksgiving where we all want to give thanks. I would love to give thanks. Solve these problems, and I'll buy the turkey next year. But Secretary Duffy, while you're obsessed with dress code, and by the way, I said at the beginning, I agree with you. Why not figure out the other problems that can be solved? And every one of those problems, the solution is available. The golden age of travel, air traffic controllers are working with equipment that's 40 years too old. So much for the golden age of travel, right? Come on. You take a look at every aspect of the travel experience by air. It's solvable. It can be implemented, in a matter of days, weeks, or even months at the outset. But if you focus on how we're dressing to get to the airport, my answer is, you know what? If the plane's going to be late, if my bags are going to be lost, and the secretary doesn't want me to wear pajamas, why wouldn't I wear pajamas? I'm sleeping at the airport. Get it? All right. So have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Please drive safely. Please fly safely. And when you get back, hopefully not on Sunday, but sometime next week, remember this. If you want us to be nice, don't treat us as self-loading human cargo. If you want to be nice, don't act as an arrogant oligopoly. And if you want to be nice, understand the real meaning of airline safety, airline design, airport design. And you know what? Everybody will be nice and kind because we will not be in an environment that induces that other kind of behavior. And I won't drink to that unless it's after 45 minutes prior to my boarding. Get it? All right. Go have turkey. Anthony, thanks for posting this today, and we'll see you next week. Have a very happy holiday, everybody.